Oh man, I really didn't want to make this video and talk about the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II the way I'm going to. Not necessarily that I don't like this device anymore, but more of annoyances that come with this device. Well, I still like it, and again, I'm staying true to the pictures, and of course the headphone jack. There are some issues with this device that cannot be overlooked as a normal consumer. And I'm somewhat in the middle of this, and that's a problem for me when it comes to this phone. So, let's talk about the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II, but also talk about the steps that Sony really needs to take when it comes to their mobile phones. And this is coming out of passion, not out of hate. So to begin with, like I said, the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II. I like it. I love the device. Mostly. I like the camera a lot. Pictures that can be taken on this device with proper lighting are really nice. I like the balance of the images. It doesn't oversaturate. It doesn't remove the shadows, for instance, that a lot of companies do seem to do, like Samsung for instance. And I really do enjoy it. It gives the image much more character, much more personality, if that makes any sense, because it's a picture. But you get what I'm saying, right? I hope. I think. Anyway, I think that is really the good side of the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II. And not to mention, of course, the headphone jack, like stated. But the camera is also the issue for this device. While the images on these three are really solid when there is enough light, but when it goes to low light situations or possibly inside a building in a restaurant or anything like that, not that you really can go to that, well you can, but limited. Anyway, the camera itself performs quite poorly when it comes to those situations. When it comes to the situations, lighting isn't ideal. Not only is the image not sharp anymore and it becomes really soft for some reason, it just doesn't capture as much light in. And it doesn't use any computational photography like others do outside of Sony. For instance, Google is the main experience that you have with it, with the Google Pixel series that does really well with computational photography. Now, you either like it or hate it, but most normal consumers care for that. And while I get that they are going for a niche in this one, why not have both options? Why not have that computational photography is a good thing on this one as well, but leave the manual there as well for a person that really wants to explore that. Because the manual mode on this is good. The shutter speed is amazing on this camera. It's the fastest out there. Video control is amazing. Heck, you can even have the focus that you decide when the focus is coming and whatnot. This is basically something you can use to make a video for no reason. It does that really well. However, with that being said, again, your normal consumer doesn't care. And that's where the weakness is for the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II when it comes to the camera. Then next to it, MKBHD already said it. No one really knows that this is being released. Because, well, Sony doesn't really explore the YouTube revenue. It doesn't really send out review devices, so it's overlooked. Not to mention that Sony is like, okay, let's showcase a device. Let's hype everyone up. Let's show them what we can do with this new device. This is my feeling when this one was shown. It's like, oh yeah, I want this, I want this. I want this phone, I really want it. And then decide to wait months for the release of it. Yeah, that was lovely. So I waited for a long time to get this device, and that is really a big issue. Because what you want when someone buys a product is that they buy it with their heart, not with their mind. Because if they think about it too much, they probably will skip a device because they're like, you know what, the device that I currently have is actually quite nice as well. It does what I need it to do. So yeah, after thinking about the product itself, after thinking about whether I want it or not, probably should just skip this one and just wait for next year. And then Sony does the same thing again. They're like, oh, you know what, let's wait months for it to be released. That is for me the biggest issue with the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II. And well, basically Sony, when it comes to their mobile phone department. I think there's a lot of interest in the devices, but Sony just doesn't seem to do it right when it comes to marketing and of course the releases. Then next to it, the software, well, it works. It's close to stock, and I don't think everyone is a fan of that. Now, numbers will tell you most people don't have stock Android, which is true because a lot of phones out there are being sold from Samsung, Huawei and others. And that means that most devices simply don't have stock Android or close to stock Android. So I don't really want to calculate those numbers in because I feel like it's not a one-to-one comparison because of that. But with that being said, software is lackluster on this one. Well, it works, and I really like how you can actually have that multiple tasks appear when you press on the side of it. It just doesn't work as intuitive as I want it to be, and sometimes it just has hiccups. It's not the fastest out there, it's not the smoothest experience. And for instance, the fingerprint scanner, while it works, it's not the best out there. It's side mounted, but it just doesn't work as nice as I want it to. Sometimes I can actually have problems with it where it just doesn't want to unlock. And I'm like, okay, what is this? This is a side mounted fingerprint scanner. This is not an under the display one. This is not one at the back. It's a real proper fingerprint scanner that should work really well, but it doesn't always work that well. This is a downside for me. With that being said though, I don't think that the software experience is terrible, and I think there are some good things about this device as well when it comes to the software experience. For one, like I said, having those apps appear on the side of the display really is handy, and it works intuitive-ish if it appears. But other than that, swiping down from settings works on any part of the display, and that makes it really handy to actually go into the settings itself. Then we have some other issues that we need to talk about when it comes to this device as well. This device has a 4K display. That's fine. I don't mind it. It's a good display. However, when you go outside, it does have problems. Again, while the display is nice, it isn't very useful if you cannot see the display. If the sun is really showing up on this display, it's really hard to see the display. It's really hard to take a picture, for instance, because it's just not bright enough. That's a really downfall when it comes to this device. And honestly, I don't think 4K is something that people really care about that much. I think 4K is nice, but on a phone? Really? Do we really need that? I think people care more about the quality of the display in terms of brightness, in terms of hertz, which for myself I don't really care about. I mean, 60 hertz is for me fine on a phone. On a display, of course, if you are gaming, then yes, I can see why more than 60 hertz is nice when you're playing a game that really utilizes that. But with that being said, on the phone, I don't really care that much. And then the last one. The Sony Xperia 1 Mark II comes with dual front-facing speakers. And you think, oh, dual front-facing speakers. I know that. HTC did that as well, and the audio experience was amazing. Dual front-facing speakers all the way. I want that on every single device. Yeah, wait. While it performs pretty well with music, it doesn't do that well when it comes to voices. For instance, WhatsApp messages, when Roger is sending me a lot of messages and a freaking book. Hi Roger. Then it becomes a bit unclear. The voices aren't the best out there, and it's a bit muddled. You don't hear it properly. And I think that's a real issue, especially when you send a lot of messages or receive a lot of voice messages. Hi Roger again. Yeah, he sends me messages like 3 or 4 minutes long. I'm like, oh boy, I need to prepare myself for this one. By the way, if you don't know him, check him out, link in the description. Anyway, these are my experiences with the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II. I think it's a fine device, and I really like the camera, and I really like the headphone jack. But there are some issues that I'm like, that's so annoying though, because, like stated, pictures, for instance, is something that I really care about. And if you want to take a quick picture with less than optimal lighting, this ain't it. And that's a real problem for me. And I feel like that is something Sony needs to address quickly, aside from marketing. Either way, what do you think about the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II? Do you own it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? What is your opinion? Do you share mine when it comes to the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II or the Sony Xperia 5 Mark II? The names are so weird. Or do you think also, by the way, that Sony needs to release a smaller device? Not something this large. Either way, let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you do enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like, because it really helps out with the YouTube algorithm and commenting as well. So I do appreciate it if you leave a comment and of course a like. Either way, have a good one and talk to you guys in the next.